Hi, YouTube. My name is Kyle Kittleson, the host at MedCircle. This is a fantastic collaboration between MedCircle and the incredible Dr. Tracey Marks. Dr. Tracey Marks is a leading psychiatrist, and she's also the host and creator of the Dr. Tracey Marks YouTube channel. I bet you've seen her around before, because I certainly have. I'm a really big fan. She's also author of the book, Why Am I Anxious? Or Why Am I So Anxious, rather? And she's here today to talk to us about the somewhat controversial topic, maybe very controversial topic of psychedelics. Dr. Tracey Marks, welcome to the MedCircle channel. I think we're streaming on your channel. Hello to all the Dr. Tracey Marks fans. This is great.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for having me again.
I think out of all of the topics I told my friends I was interviewing on this month for Mental Health Awareness Month, I think most of them they piqued their interest at the psychedelic topic. This is popping up more and more and more. I would love to just get your overall thoughts on the topic before we dive into what psychedelics actually are. Do you think this is promising, or do you think this is something that could hurt more people than help?
Oh, so this is a hot topic even within the psychiatric community because the mechanism of action for these drugs is revolutionary in terms of the way they work in the brain, as well as the effects that they have, the long-term effects that they have on your thinking. So, yeah, it's exciting to see people helped in ways that they haven't been helped before when it comes to treatment resistance, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. So as far as I'm concerned, it can't get here fast enough.
Yeah. It's I think a lot of our doctors echo that same sentiment. Because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I would love to invite anybody who would like to. We have a live workshop that we typically only reserve for MedCircle members. However, anyone this month can attend this live workshop on May 22nd or watch the replay. It's up to you. It'll feature a number of psychologists and psychiatrists on a variety of different topics. You can get information using the links below this video. Dr. Marks, what are psychedelics?
So psychedelics, that term was coined back in the 1950s and really means mind manifesting, just because of the way that the drugs change your perception, your thought, and your mood. But typically people associate psychedelics with drugs that cause a hallucinatory experience or dissociation, which isn't quite the same as hallucinations, but can still make people feel very unsettled. And there's several ones that are being tested and researched these days. But yeah, in general, the term psychedelic, people think of them as the drugs that cause a hallucinatory experience.
So if somebody ingests a psychedelic and use some names here so we know what we're talking about. I mean, I know mushrooms as a psychedelic, ayahuasca is a psychedelic. Maybe you can speak to more of the chemicals in those, but what's happening in the brain when we ingest these?
Sure. So I made a nice graphic for us to pull up so that people have a visual here because it's a lot of words. So the psychedelics are kind of divided into two categories: the classic psychedelics and the non-classic. The classic ones are ones that affect serotonin pathways. And that's kind of, that it's a kind of a minor point, but not really a minor point. The reason it's not a minor point, well, let me say, I'm so excited about this. I can't even get my thoughts straight.
I love it. Sometimes when we're talking about mental health, it can be a little mundane, and I love the excitement here.
This is exciting stuff. So we could see the slide back up again. So the classic psychedelics would be psilocybin or magic mushrooms, mescaline, which comes from the peyote cactus, and DMT, which is found in a drink out of South America called ayahuasca. those three are naturally occurring. And then synthetic classic psychedelic is LSD. Some people just refer to it as acid. Then on the non-classic side, you have MDMA, also known as ecstasy. And as you can see from that long chemical name, that it's essentially an amphetamine drug.
Uh-huh.
And then there's Special K. Oh, sorry, there's ketamine that people call Special K, that was really designed as an anesthetic drug.
Uh-huh.
And then THC, which is found in marijuana. I put a question mark because a lot of people don't. It's really controversial whether people really consider that a psychedelic. At high doses, it can cause hallucinatory experiences, but that's not its main mechanism of as far as how it helps therapeutically. So I'm in the camp of not really considering that one of the psychedelics, but I at least wanted to throw it up there. So back to the classic psychedelics, the ones that affect serotonin receptors. The reason this is different and not just a standard increasing serotonin like the antidepressants kind of thing is it affects these receptors in the default network of your brain. What is that? That is a series of structures in the brain that are all connected to one another, and they are responsible for what you think about when you're not intentionally thinking. So it's like when you're mind wandering or just kind of not really thinking about something specific, what comes to mind for you? For some people, especially depressed people, they can ruminate about negative things. People who are anxious can then start worrying and coming up with what if scenarios and being very fearful. So the fact that these drugs work on that and on that system or that area of the brain is part of the way that they change how you think and open up your mind to more flexible thinking. The LSD, so those all work kind of in that area. MDMA or ecstasy, now we're going to the other side with the non-classic. So it doesn't affect these receptors, but what it does, it actually increases oxytocin, which we think of as the love hormone. But what that does is that improves empathy and caring for others. MDMA also increases serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, similar to the antidepressants. And then you have ketamine, which works on the NDMA receptors. There's a lot of letters here. And what that does is the NMDA receptors, when those are blocked, there's like a cascade of things that happen, and then you get neuroplasticity changes. So you get changes in the way your nerve cells are wired, and you get regeneration of brain circuits. And so one of the thoughts or one of the ideas or theories behind depression, anxiety, and other mental conditions is loose connections between the nerve cells, such that you get kind of inadequate wiring. And that inadequate wiring or loose connections or degraded nerve circuits is part of the problem with communication between the cells. And that is what leads to some of the pathology. So these drugs don't just work to increase serotonin or increase a chemical imbalance, which we now know is not really the cause of these mental conditions. It's the wiring. It's a wiring problem. Wow. And these drugs work at changing the wiring.
Well explained, Dr. Marks. I understand. Many questions here. One, does this have any contraindications? I'm thinking of people in psychosis or schizophrenia. How would taking psychedelics impact that?
So that could be a concern or an issue with someone who already is prone to or vulnerable to having hallucinations. in the first place. So currently, these drugs are being mostly studied with depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. I think I have seen some studies where they're pulling in schizophrenia as well. I think a key component to this treatment is, so far, it is requiring therapy assisted treatment. So it's not like you can just, and that with the exception of ketamine. Ketamine's already being used, but these other drugs like mushrooms and MDMA, those are the two that are closest to coming to FDA approval. Those require that you take the medication and you be observed, and you have a therapist, a trained person there to help you process some of the thoughts that you have. Like, that's seen as also part of the treatment and not just taking the pills.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of this, Dr. Marks? Years ago, I went and got a ketamine treatment. We filmed it at a ketamine center in Beverly Hills. I have major depression and very low anxiety. And I had to go through all these testing to see if I qualified for this ketamine treatment. Maybe we can throw up a link to that. I did one session. I think it was 45 minutes. And it was at this, office. And then I had to track my mood for weeks later afterwards. Every day at the same time, I would get a text message to my phone and I had to put in my mood. And about 4 or 5 days afterwards, I was 10 out of 10. I mean, it's not like I was floating around like I have no problems. But if I did have problems, I was like, yeah, problems happen. I can handle these. What are they? Let me address them. It was really profound. Now, I did not do all 6 sessions as the recommended, as it was recommended to me. I just did the one. There were some negatives for me. I had a pound. I never get headaches. I had a pounding headache at the end of it. So, it wasn't the best thing in the world, but the impact was very real. The impact was very real. What type of longevity could we see at using these at therapeutic doses, these psychedelics? Is this something that's going to last for a few days or a few months or longer?
Very good question. Thank you for asking that, because I did want to mention that another thing that makes these drugs more magical, if you will, is the length of time the positive effects last after just 1 or 2 doses. So with psilocybin, for example, 2 big trials that are going on right now. One is for just regular depression, another for treatment resistant. One is for 1 dose and another one is for 2 doses. Still, even if it's 2 doses, some of the results that they're seeing is that people after just 1 or 2 doses have months, like 18 months up to, of feeling more, not only having their depression resolve, but feeling a difference in their mindset, in their attitude about life, being more flexible in their thinking in general. And so, yes, that's also a huge difference in the way these medications work. And it's probably because of the wiring issue being changed that has these long-lasting effects. Ketamine, though, that one, and again, that's the one that's currently out. You can get it as an IV infusion. You can also get it as an oral form, S-ketamine. And that one is not as powerful as the IV, but it's still not clear how long the benefit is after ketamine. So the months of feeling like life is great is more with the other psychedelics like psilocybin and ecstasy or MDMA.
Yeah. This is all very exciting, and I'm glad we're bringing this to not only the people on your YouTube channel, which you've talked about this on your YouTube channel in the past, but also to our MedCircle YouTube channel. It reminds me that we want to look at every available option to us, and that includes finding actual supportive communities. When years ago, I did a mental health month, Dr. Marks, and I asked all of these people with lived experience, what's your big advice for people struggling? I think 9 out of the 10 said you got to find your community. You've got to find it somewhere. And I know you just launched a new wellness-based community. I would love for you to share that with, of course, your audience who's watching, but also the MedCircle audience who might not be familiar with it.
Yeah, so I just launched a couple of months ago the mental wellness space, it's called. And it is designed to be a community where you receive education from me, but also support from one another as well. And that the education and support comes in the form of live streams. We have journal exercises every week, and then a monthly wellness related theme. This month it is on clean eating,
Nice.
where each week there's a challenge related to that theme. So great
Nice.
place to be if you're wanting additional help and support and education around being mentally and physically well, and
Yeah.
not just addressing a disorder.
And where do we find that?
The website is mentalwellnessspace.com.
mentalwellnessspace.com. Excellent. And since you're bopping around doing that, I'm also going to invite you to our live workshop. Typically, we only do these for paying MedCircle members this Mental Health Awareness Month. Anybody who would like to get this type of education and insight can join for free. We will link to it in the bottom of MedCircle's YouTube description, or I think we can throw the link up on the screen as well. Or you can go to medcircle.com. We'll get you there. Or email me, Kyle@medcircle.com. I'll get you there, whatever you need. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. We want as many people who want it to have this education. If you can't join live, we'll send you the replay, so it's all good. Dr. Marks, where I worry about when it comes to psychedelics, how young people will be to start using these. Is there any evidence that young people are more at risk of using a psychedelic than somebody who's an adult?
Well, so the studies and the science is limits the age to 21 and above. There may be somewhere it's 18. I'm not sure, but generally it's
That's
above.
interesting to me, though, because I read that cannabis shouldn't be ingested until after the age of 25.
Right, because of the fact that our brains are still wiring. Particularly the last part to fully develop is the prefrontal cortex. It's kind of like right behind your forehead. That's the part that's involved with the executive functions, planning, organization, working memory, all of those things. Those things aren't fully developed to adult form until around age 25. So the idea with early use of cannabis is that you could alter some of that development. Now, as far as using these psychedelics in 21 and above, I mean, that's where they cut off the age. I'm not sure how many people they're actually recruiting to be 21 and doing this, but still,
right.
If you think about the fact that someone who's age 21 can have a debilitating depression where they don't want to live, how concerned should we be about a potential
Oh my
change?
gosh. Yeah, you're right.
So it's
You're
weighing the positives and the negatives. And one other thing I wanted to, it's like a fire hose of information I'm trying to get across here. But one other thing about, let's say, MDMA use. So I mentioned that the big studies were depression, treatment-resistant depression, and then also PTSD. PTSD is a very difficult disorder to treat, particularly if someone has had symptoms for a long time. The longer they go kind of marinating in all of this fear and reactivating and reliving experiences, the harder it is to turn that around. The MDMA trials, or the intention of it is to help people process the trauma in a controlled setting with this drug that not only affects, say, the serotonin and everything else that I mentioned, the oxytocin, but it also decreases amygdala activity. Your amygdala is a structure in your brain that is involved in detecting threats. And you can be oversensitive to perceived threats that aren't really threatening and then walk around fearful and anxious.
Yeah.
With PTSD, you have a lot of fear and anxiety that's triggered by recalling things. So you get into this state with the help of the drug that
Yeah.
helps kind of release some of that so that then you can process it and have it and essentially get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How close are we from me going to a doctor like you and you saying, all right, here's your dose of mushrooms. See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So I thought the last I heard is that Compass Med is a company that has been actively working on developing this and is, I think, in phase 3 trials at this point. And I thought it was going to be by sometime 2023 this year,
Oh, wow.
perhaps toward the end of the year. I'm still not sure. I saw a recent article that they produce saying, oh, more studies need to be done. I don't know if that means that now things are paused and it's going to take longer, or if they're still on track for that. So I'm still hoping, fingers crossed, that either MDMA or psilocybin, one of those will come to market before the end of this year.
Yeah. That is much faster than I thought you would say. I thought you were going to say probably in 20 years, and even then.
Oh gosh.
Okay, good. Well,
yeah, if that were the
let's
case, then we don't even need to be talking about this because we can't wait that long.
Yeah, good. Y'all, if you're a MedCircle YouTube subscriber, I have a favor to ask. I want you to make sure you go subscribe to Dr. Tracey Marks' channel. I watch Dr. Marks on YouTube. Okay, I'm a fan of Dr. Marks, and I believe in the power of having perspective in mental health, because there is nothing black and white about this, and it is so great to get as much insight that you can trust, credentialed insight that you can use, and Dr. Marks delivers that on her YouTube channel. So go not only show her support, but go help yourself by go subscribing to her YouTube channel. Dr. Marks, final thoughts or words on psychedelics. What have we not covered that is important to cover here?
Oh, just stay on the lookout. Know that help is coming. I know it's hard to hang in there, but these are drugs that are not, these are drugs that can really change how we treat mental conditions. And there are people who, no matter what they've taken, have never been helped. And so this is like helping the unhelpable.
Yeah.
And so try and get past the whole, get tripping and getting high and all of that. It's not, we're beyond that. Like go beyond that and look at the possibilities and actually making a difference in how you're treated.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you for that, Dr. Marks. Sorry that my camera is frozen. There's a nice little picture for everybody. Dr. Marks, I so appreciate you for spending some time with us this Mental Health Awareness Month. Hopefully we can do it again soon. Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this. I know I'll see many of you on May 22nd for our live event. There is still time to register. If you're watching this after May 22nd, you can still use the links at the description of MedCircle's YouTube video, where you can get instant access to that replay. It is chock full of actionable insight from esteemed psychologists and psychiatrists, absolutely free. I'm so excited and honored and privileged that we can make this available to everybody. So please take advantage of it. Again, use the links in the description of this video. Man, I'm going to be thinking about psychedelics today. Didn't think that was going to be on my agenda, but now I'm going to be thinking of psychedelics today. Thank you again to Dr. Tracey Marks. Thank you for watching. I'm Kyle Kittleson. Remember, whatever you're going through, you got this.